Today I'm taking a look at the game Z, but this game does a pretty good job at introducing itself, so I'll let it take it from here.
141 Order Supply Ship, come on and copy good, buddy. This is a priority transmission from Search Patrol. Confirm your position, do you read? Repeat, 1414, do you copy? Your mark, mate. What happened?
I'm Clung Grenadier.
Breakfast.
A cadet was arrested today on his way home from a red robot party.
Now I remember.
Hey, will you turn that thing off? I got a hangover.
You have 2 new messages.
Uh-oh. Zod. He's that big-time general.
First new message.
Now listen up, you lard asses. Where's my damn delivery? It was due here an hour ago.
Oh, shit.
Second message.
If I find out you've been lazy-assing around space again, then I'll kick your red butt, you dumb fuck.
Whoa, he sounds pissed.
We should have been there an hour ago. Now what?
Okay. Everything's fine. Don't overload yourself. Let's just resume our mission. Set coordinates and get out of here.
To the red system, you dumbass. You gotta veer left off the orbital and then take the north slip up and over the...
Hey, who's driving this ship?
Yeah, I know this short. Shut up!
Oh no. I think this is a mobile port. Please let it be a good mobile port. Or maybe if I'm really lucky, just an updated version of the MS-DOS game, but feeling this little script right here to the left, I don't think that's the case.
I knew which way it was.
Well, just look out for the next thing, two-brain.
Oh, yeah, right. Now that's what I call catching the sea.
Hey, look, looks like some kind of desert world.
Yeah! Let's go blow up some cacti!
Landing 100% successful.
At least they kept the cutscenes, but holy shit, is this ever a mobile port? I mean, look, you got a pause button, you got these little buttons in the bottom left, I don't know what they do, but they're probably quick selects. And yeah, this doesn't control super well either, just feeling it. It's kind of like it's meant for a touchscreen, but then they just ported mouse controls into it, which, I don't know, you'd think that'd work right, but this feels really, I don't know, I can't explain it. Floaty's not the right word, but something similar to that. Some of my clicks just aren't registering. It's hard to explain. I know my mouse is working, so yeah, that's a good way to explain it. It feels like I'm playing an RTS game with a broken mouse. I like the thought behind including the pause button, but on the PC version you could always just hit escape, so that's not really a new feature, it's just a secondary pause. To me that reads like they were just too lazy to port that out. You know, fuck it, just leave the pause button in. It looks like it's updated if you're not used to mobile games, but this doesn't feel like an update at all. But I'll give them some credit. We're looking at a widescreen game here that's not stretched out, so that's pretty good. You know, if they just stretched out the aspect ratio, that would have been pretty shitty. I do appreciate being able to see most of the field here. That is kind of nice. Kind of makes the radar a bit useless, but this is a small map. There's larger maps, so I guess I can't complain too much about that. thinking about it, the original game came out in like 1996, and I haven't played it since then, but I don't remember it being like this, at least control-wise. I mean, the clicks, from what I remember, were just instantaneous and everything just worked. I think I'm just looking at the side effects of playing a mobile port right here. I've played a few mobile ports in the past, and it seems to be a common reoccurring theme. In most cases, I can understand not reprogramming the mouse controls in and just kind of leaving things as they are with a little bit of a floaty camera and all that, but in this case, it's an MS-DOS game that was ported to Windows, that was ported to mobile, now ported back to Windows on Steam. So it seems kind of weird that they would just port the mobile version. Why not just re-release the MS-DOS version? And I guess the answer is because it's easier to port an Android game over than it is an MS-DOS game.
Unit reporting.
I'd say I'm a victim of false advertising, but I probably should have seen this coming. I mean, they put in widescreen support. It's an old RTS game that nobody remembers being put onto Windows again, onto Steam, for pretty much no reason. I should have seen this coming a mile away. Of course it's a fucking Android port. I mean, visually it looks fine. I kind of missed the sidebar and some of the other interface features that the old game had, but you know, those aren't super vital for this game. It's not a super complex RTS game, but when you fuck with the mouse controls, that's going a little bit too far. Though I guess it's more of a case of them just not programming mouse controls and just porting over the touchscreen shit. I'm not a programmer, I don't know, but that's what it feels like. And again, I feel like I need to reiterate how bad the mouse controls are. I'm clicking on shit, and it's just not registering. You can't see it here because it's not registering, but that's what's happening, and that's probably about the worst thing that you can have going on in an RTS game. Basically, what that means is that I have to look at my mouse at all times and make sure that something happened. I can't look at something else on the screen, then do a mouse command and just assume that my, units are going to code that way. They may just not get any instruction whatsoever, and that's not good. Not good at all. Which, funny enough, is kind of compounded by the fact that I'm playing in widescreen right now. Now there's more screen space for my eyes to look, but what's the point of having that extra screen space if I can't really utilize it? I have to keep an eye on my fucking mouse cursor at all times now. Oh, that's mission 1 out of the way. I don't think I'll be doing a full playthrough on this version. I think I might try to fetch the MS-DOS version, but I'm not going to play this one. At this point, I'm basically just playing this to bitch about it.
Good work, Commander, but there ain't no time to lose. We may have won this battle, but we sure as hell ain't won the goddamn war. Let's move it on out, soldier.
Oh, god damn it. You know, at this point, I'd even settle for the Sega Saturn port. I mean, it doesn't have mouse controls either, but at least it has controls, to where this is just fucking with me. I should have read the reviews, but who really expects them to port an MS-DOS game to Android, then back to Windows?
Hey, you said it was my turn to drive.
No, your turn last time. It's my turn this time.
Watch out for that little help.
Hey, no problem. I see it. Alrighty.
No, not now.
Yes, now.
No.
What you doing now? I didn't say then now.
At least they let the cutscenes in. Those are kind of the best part about the campaign in this game. It's not my favorite RTS game, but it was a good one, and to have it hacked apart by a shitty mobile port, it's just sad to see. This game deserves better. While this game looks old, it doesn't actually predate Command & Conquer, which is part of the reason why I don't view it as a better game. You know, it's different, which was good at the time because there wasn't any variety in RTS games back then, but I still kinda prefer Command & Conquer. In Command & Conquer, you had more control over your base, what you're gonna build, and all that other stuff, and you can choose what you want to build in this game, but you gotta capture these capture points, and it's interesting, but it's not something that I'm super into. There is some cool strategy to it, though. See those counters on the front of the building? You want to capture an enemy building right when that counter's about to reach 0. That way you can snag it right before something gets produced. If I was going to compare it to a more modern RTS game, I'd say it's basically Company of Heroes, just without the base building. You capture these points, they spit out units, and that's pretty much it. So if you're not looking for a super complex RTS game and just want a little mild strategy game to enjoy a single-player campaign on, it's a really good game for that, but I wouldn't suggest trying to play for multiplayer. Not that you could with this version, because it doesn't have fucking multiplayer. The MS-DOS version does, but not the modern version. I actually thought it was an updated version too until I saw the menu. I had to test things out to make sure that I could record it. Wouldn't record in full screen, had to play it in a windowed version, which isn't a joy. But in addition to that, if you want to turn the volume up and down, you can't. You just have music on or music off, which kind of seals this for me as a bad mobile port. You know, they just expected you to use the volume controls on your phone if you wanted less volume, which is bullshit. Even for a mobile game, that's kind of lazy. I mean, again, I'm not a programmer, but if you got sound into the game, you can adjust the volume levels. That doesn't seem like it's a high-level thing for a programmer to do. I mean, I can forgive them for not making it record and shadow play at full screen. I mean, that's asking a lot. I don't expect them to custom tailor a port just for me and my recording setup. That'd be ridiculous, but it seems kind of lazy overall. Additionally, this game had a Windows port, and it was a MS-DOS game. These aren't very hard to get running on Windows. Maybe if you're running Windows 8, and I guess I could see the logic in that, but why not just port the Android port over? Which, I can't believe I just said that. Port a port over. Port the MS-DOS version over to fucking Android, then port it over to Windows again and sell it on Steam. That's a whole nother breed of lazy. You know, cash in on that mobile money, then throw it onto Steam and get some money out of that. Though maybe I'm being a bit harsh, they may have just not had the money to do that, in which case I completely understand, but on the same end, you had a working PC version there. I mean, unless this is a one-man job done mostly by software, I can't imagine it being that much more efficient to port an Android game over compared to an MS-DOS game. Though that would explain the buggy controls and lack of multiplayer. You know, putting those features in or reprogramming the controls or putting in a volume lever or anything like that would take a lot of extra work if it's just one person working with the engine they may not be super familiar with. Which honestly, I could give them a pass for that if this was a game that originated on mobile that got ported to PC, but considering this has gone the full loop of going from one system to the other and back, it's significantly less forgivable. Not saying it's an easy thing to do. If it was that easy, somebody would have done it on the internet for free by now, which for all I know they may have done it. It just seems like a really lazy thing to do. Maybe they didn't own the source code for the original game, maybe they just don't have access to it, which again, that would be a more reasonable reason why not to do that. Maybe they just had the graphics and all that. That's kind of believable, but on the same end, I honestly think if they put the extra effort in, they could have made this just like the PC version and given it widescreen and better support for newer operating systems and all that other shit. Maybe even improved it a little bit, but in this circumstance, the game actually has less features, which, I mean, I guess you can count the widescreen support as a feature and that's good, but at the cost of multiplayer and all the other stuff that the MS-DOS version had, it's kind of trading more than it is a upgrade or anything like that. It's kind of like buying a luxury car that doesn't have any air conditioning and you have to roll up the windows yourself. Kinda hard to call that an upgrade. You know, I'd be more angry about this, but now that Steam refunds are a thing, I can just get my money back on this, which is great. You know, I can just say, hey, this is a mobile port, I thought it was a PC game, and I'll get my money back no problem. If that wasn't the case, I'd be way more pissed off at this developer, whoever did this, I don't even know. I think their name was at the start, but I can't fucking remember it. I was too excited to play Z. I was thinking, oh yeah, this game from 1996 that I really like. You know, it's a good RTS game, not a great one, but it's still a classic, you know? You gotta be able to enjoy those things a little bit. But when it's a fucking mobile port like this, it sucks all the fun out of that. It's kind of like buying Doom and then finding out it's some kind of mobile port back to PC, so you have to control it using your mouse on the screen. It would just be a fucking nightmare, and that's kind of what this is. Though not quite as bad as that Doom scenario, the fact that the clicks don't always register is a huge fucking flaw. And maybe it's my fault, but I kinda doubt it. I'm using a really good mouse, and I've been playing the Active Aggression beta, and I haven't had any mouse problems on that, so I'm pretty sure this is localized to this port. But just to be sure, I'll test my mouse after this, and if it is my mouse, I'll just scrap this video. But if you see this video online, that means that it's not my mouse. And you know what? Frankly, I could forgive all the other problems on this port if just the mouse controls were good. If it controlled well, then I wouldn't be bitching about any of this other stuff. I mean, okay, multiplayer's not there, but I didn't plan on playing this multiplayer anyways, and okay, yeah, maybe the sound options are a bit limited and all that, but, you know, I can just adjust the volume in Windows. Not a huge deal, but kind of a pain. I just can't forgive bad mouse controls in an RTS game, though. That's going too far. I try not to be too opinionated or overcritical of games that I don't enjoy, but when it comes down to things like controls and missing features, those aren't down to opinion, that's just straight up fact. A soda that's not your favorite brand is one thing, but a soda that's completely flat is in a whole new territory of just not being what you want. And bad mouse controls in an RTS game is pretty much like getting a flat soda. You know, you could drink a Dr. Pepper and still enjoy it if that's not what you're looking for, but if it's fucking flat Dr. Pepper, then, well, I don't think anybody's gonna enjoy that. Additionally, they make DOSBox emulators for Android, so you could play this game on your mobile phone and have it be the original MS-DOS version and everything would be fucking hunky-dory. So not only is this game kind of an unnecessary port, it's doubly unnecessary to port it back to Windows after porting it to Android. I'm not going to be able to get over that. That's a whole new level of redundancy just for the purpose of making a couple extra bucks off Steam, which they're not going to get off me anyways because I'm just going to fucking refund it. I don't know if the people that actually made this game, Bitmap Brothers, get any money off this port. I kind of wish that they did, but on the same end, I kind of don't want to give it to them. You know, I like to go buy the MS-DOS version of the game. I don't want to buy this one. If I have an option to buy a game, I usually opt for that over just, you know, getting it off of the internet through other means because I like to support the developers, and, you know, if you buy these games, they make more of them. But in this circumstance, it just feels like a cash-in, which does piss me off quite a bit because I'm not an old guy, but I was old enough to play this game back in the 90s, and I like the idea of supporting old developers, especially people that kind of gave me the memories that I hold dear today, you know? I really loved playing this game back in 1996 and 1997, but I don't want to give financial incentive for companies to port these games poorly to Android to cash in on some money, then port them back to Steam to cash in on some more money. Clearly, there's an automated process that makes that really easy to do, and I'd like to discourage them from doing that, so that's why I'm going to refund the game. Granted, it's kind of my fault for not reading the Steam reviews and looking at the forums, but I kind of figured, oh, it's a PC game, so what could possibly fucking go wrong? Last fucking time I do that, anytime I see a classic PC game on Steam from now on, I'm going to have to check just to be sure it's not an Android port. I mean, this isn't a full-price game or anything, but can you imagine if they did that to Supreme Commander? It's like, here's your PC version, hope you have an Xbox controller. Or just, you know, port the Xbox controls over with really shitty mouse controls, anything like that. That wouldn't stand. Those games wouldn't sell, and it'd just be a huge waste of money. In fact, this kind of reminds me of the first Resident Evil 4 port to PC. That was a fucking mess. You could only control Leon's aiming with the numerical pad, and there was no mouse aiming, there was no joystick support that I remember, or if there was, it was really shitty. I just don't see how developers do that. How do you port a game over to PC and not put in proper controls? I guess back then it made a little bit more sense because if you bought the game and opened it, you were pretty much fucked because at that point you use the CD key and they're not going to take your return back, so they got you. You know, a little bait and switch, but at least we have Steam refunds today. That's really good. If it weren't for that, I would just be out $5, which isn't a huge amount of money, but it's still my money, and I don't want to incentivize companies to make shitty ports. And honestly, it kind of pains me to call this a shitty port, because outside of the mouse controls and a few other little issues here and there, it's Z, it's the game, it's here, but it's just so fucking stupid to port a game and to port it back, and I can't wrap my head around this whole fucking model they have here. I don't think that they're genuinely trying to do a bait and switch like with Resident Evil 4 on the PC, but on the same end, they had to have known. They have to know. People have to have been telling them by now at least. Maybe they didn't have enough money to get it tested, and maybe they thought they could just port it over and nobody'd notice, or, you know, maybe the game's so old that nobody will notice, that kind of attitude, which is a pretty stupid attitude to have. PC gamers are obsessive as fuck, but it's just mind-boggling. Because there's only a couple things that could happen. Either they intentionally put out a shitty game to try to cash in on it, or they didn't know what they were doing and just made a bad game and this is the best that they could do, or there just wasn't enough money to make a PC port. All of those are good reasons to cancel a port. I bitch about the 0-hour port and the fact that GameSpy doesn't work anymore and all that, but at least you get the game and it runs on modern operating systems, and that's good enough. But in the case of Z, fucking up the mouse controls is just unforgivable. That's something I just can't look past. In fact, if the mouse controls were okay, I think I wouldn't mind the interface being minimalized. That's actually kind of cool to play an RTS game that has a minimal interface. I like the idea of that, and this game's well suited for it. The game doesn't really need the interface, but on the same end, You just can't accept bad mouse controls in an RTS game. That's a sin that can't be forgiven. And honestly, I kinda doubt that the Android version controls that much better. I'd spend money on it and test that out, but I'm not getting a refund on the Play Store. That's never gonna fucking happen. I'd be better off just using a DOSBox emulator and emulating it, which, again, doesn't help the developers out any, doesn't help the brand out any. We're never gonna see another Z game if nobody buys any of them, which is kind of a shame, but if they're gonna keep putting out crap, then there's no reason to support the game anymore. It's not an outcome I'm happy with, but I don't like throwing my money away. I don't like throwing $5 away, I don't like throwing 50 cents away. It's not like I'm hurting for money or anything, but you don't get to a point to where you're not hurting for money by just throwing away money all day long on shitty game ports and all that. You gotta look after your investments at least a little bit. And the reason I call it an investment is because I could get this game through other means very easily. I shouldn't have to pay for it at all, really. I mean, I have another copy of it just laying around the house somewhere. I pretty much just bought this because I was too lazy to dig that up. But on the same end, I kind of wanted to invest in the company a little bit. You know, if they're going to port some of my favorite games over, make them playable on Windows, and maybe expose a new audience to it, that means they might make a new Z game. That'd be really fucking cool. In fact, they probably already have. And thinking about it, it's probably an Android game. Fuck. You know, I might have to buy that, then refund it just to take a look at it. Which I know is a shitty thing to do, but sometimes it's fun to stare into the abyss just to see how fucking deep it goes. You know, sometimes it makes me wonder if people who review video games have a vested interest in games being shitty. Because then they can put out scathing reviews and get lots of clicks.
Okay, boys, we got them surrounded. Let it rip.
All right.
Oh man, I always liked the cutscenes in this game. They always felt like a really good reward for winning, but now it's just a palate cleanser. It's more of a reward for enduring the gameplay rather than it is for conquering a challenge, and I just can't stand that. I honestly thought that this video was just going to be me having some casual fun with an old RTS game that wasn't high pressure and had some comedy to it, but it's just been me bitching about Android ports, or specifically this one. Thinking about it, I can't name any other awful Android ports off the top of my head. This is kind of my first experience with one that hits close to home, something that I'm not going to fucking forget, so lesson learned here. To the Steam refund page I go. But in case I wasn't clear about it, don't buy this. Just don't spend the money on it. Get the game through other means. The MS-DOS game can be bought at other places. It can be found on the internet in places that I'm not going to mention. But you can get it. Hell, it might even be on Good Old Games, for all I know. But I don't know, I kind of doubt it. These people bought the rights to it. They're not going to let a superior version of the game be sold. That would cut into their bottom line. Anyways, I ought to close this game and refund it before I spend too much time on it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.